After Rexy went bankrupt, I was downgraded to being a mistress with only $3,000 a month. My girlfriends all told me to hurry and find a new sponsor, but I didn't listen. No matter how bitter or exhausting, my main principle was to never leave or abandon him. Later, Rexy finally made a comeback, and his net worth multiplied several times over. On the day he moved out, the tall man sat in my tiny apartment, looking quite pleased. Although our contract has expired, whatever condition you bring up, I'll agree to it. I was both shocked and delighted. Then I'd like a 300 square meter luxury condo downtown. What else? That's it. Rexy's smile instantly froze. He hit the little velvet box behind his back, his expression turning darker. That's it? Then what else should there be? I had the feeling Rexy was angry. I shrank back a little, scooted away from him on the couch. How about, I also ask for 50 years of property management fees? Rexy drew in a deep breath, his thick black brows furrowing higher. Lena, are you insulting me? He had a point. Now that he was so wealthy, asking for a mere 300 square meter condo downtown really was a bit insulting. So I had to be honest. Sorry, it's just that I don't plan on getting married. So if I live alone in the future and maybe raise a dog, that much space would be enough. Rexy froze. The hand he had been hiding suddenly slipped into his pocket, the edge of a Patek Philippe watch gleaming under the light. His voice turned cold. What a coincidence. I don't plan on getting married either. I'll agree to your request. Since the contract is over anyway, I'll also transfer $2.5 million into your account, to thank you for taking care of me during this time. So generous. I broke into a wide grin, completely missing the first half of what he said. Thanks, Rexy. He pressed his lips tightly, saying nothing. When he slammed the door on his way out, the trash can outside clattered with a loud thud. Excited, I shared what had just happened in my girlfriend's group chat. In truth, I didn't have any real friends in this city. The so-called girlfriends were just the girlfriends of Rexy's friends. They all knew Rexy had a notorious reputation in their circle. Though he was rich and handsome, he was bad-tempered, full of rules, and his stamina was abnormal, often exhausting me completely. But back then, I was a qualified mistress. For money, I could endure anything. Later, news spread that Rexy had gone bankrupt. Lena, you should leave. I'm broke. He was expelled from his family. His wrinkled suit and lonely back looked as though he had been abandoned by the whole world. I really did want to leave. But then my mind spun. A fallen golden boy like Rexy, if I pulled him up at his lowest point, once he bounced back, he would surely remember me. And with his brains, making money again was only a matter of time. Surely better than me going out to work, right? The foot I had raised instantly stepped back. I tested the waters. Actually, I secretly sold a few of the bags and shoes you gave me before, and used the money to buy a small apartment. Rexy, do you want to come home with me? He nodded slightly. So, I brought him back to that 60 square meter shoebox. We made 3 new rules, added after the original contract. 1. During bankruptcy, Rexy couldn't freeload, he'd work for room and board. 2. No losing his temper. 3. In my home, he had to listen to me. If he made me mad, he had to sleep in the guest room. That night, sitting at the dinner table, Rexy ate every bite of the tomato and egg noodles I made, not even leaving a drop of soup. Afterward, he even washed the dishes, something unprecedented, quiet as a big, wet dog caught in the rain. Late at night, Rexy pressed me down, making the little pink bed creak like it would break apart. I protested against this despicable act of riding his benefactor like that. Be gentle, will you? If the bed breaks, I can't afford another one. I kicked at him, but he caught my foot. He kissed up from my ankle, breath hot, every word spoken with careful restraint. Lena, thank you, for still loving me. I swear, I won't let you live like this for long. For me, having my own place, no matter how small, where I could shelter from the wind and rain, and eat a warm meal 3 times a day, that had always been my dream. I really didn't think life was that hard, but Rexy seemed to have misunderstood. Forget it. At least he looked full of fighting spirit again, with that spark back in his eyes. The trash can at the entrance had been kicked in by Rexy. I carried the dented thing downstairs. There lived an old man with mild dementia, always collecting junk around the neighborhood. He looked at the trash can with longing. So I did a good deed to the end and just gave it to him. Meanwhile, I received Rexy's transfer. His hand must have shaken. He accidentally transferred me $5.2 million. I remembered what lawyers said online. Such transfers with special meanings could easily be reclaimed by the sender, or even used as grounds for extortion charges. So I accepted the money, then kindly returned $2.7 million. But he didn't accept it. I sent him a message to remind him. Rexy, you transferred too much. I already sent some back. A giant red exclamation mark appeared on my screen. I froze. Rexy had blocked me. This man, every time he got mad, he acted like this. No idea how I upset him again, so I didn't bother contacting him anymore. The next few days, Rexy didn't show up. I enjoyed the peace. I gave the house a big cleaning. When free, I browsed online for design ideas for the new condo, dreaming of a bright future. But even after several days, Rexy was still silent. His calls wouldn't go through. On WeChat, I was still blocked. That was very unlike his usual generous self. What about my big luxury condo? I couldn't sit still anymore. I reached out to Rexy's secretary. Sorry, the president has a private schedule today. May I ask who you are? I stumbled, unable to answer. Almost forgot, Rexy wasn't who he used to be. He had new people around him now. His secretary didn't know me. And Rexy and I no longer had a contract. We had no ties. I didn't have the privileges of a mistress anymore. No one special. Just a friend. I hung up awkwardly. For the sake of that condo, I decided to visit him in person. I waited downstairs at Rexy's building for a long time, until a black luxury car finally pulled up. A low-key, lavish Maybach. The door opened. I saw Rexy's chiseled face. Then, a graceful figure followed him out of the car. The woman in a moon-white cheongsam spoke in a crisp voice. Rexy, I'm very satisfied with you. Your looks, your family background, you fit my standards perfectly. I don't mind building love after marriage. Wow, so straightforward? Even from behind, I could tell she was a beauty. She was Rexy's arranged marriage partner, Nora. I'll leave for now. In 3 days, I expect your answer. Her figure blocked Rexy's face, so I couldn't see his expression. This kind of explosive gossip had to be shared with my girlfriends right away. I ducked behind the wall, dimmed my phone to the lowest brightness, and quietly live broadcasted in the group chat. Breaking news. Nora just proposed marriage to Rexy in person. The group immediately flooded with memes and emojis. Someone asked, Lena, after 3 years, you really never had any feelings for Rexy? Hearing him say those things, doesn't it hurt? My fingers hovered over the screen, not sure how to reply. A deep male voice suddenly boomed right above me, reading the group name word by word. Diamond Birdcage Homeowners Committee? I hadn't even noticed Rexy standing behind me. My heart jumped out of my chest. I hurried to lock my screen. One hand in his pocket, the other tugging impatiently at his tie. Rexy's eyes were tinged red from alcohol, emotions churning beyond my comprehension. Lena, when did you pick up the habit of spying? My heart pounded wildly. I stepped back. I came here to see you. Rexy's eyes lit up instantly, his Adam's apple bobbing. To see me? Yes. You left something at my place. You rushed out that day and forgot to take it. I thought I'd bring it to you. Rexy suddenly laughed. You really are impatient. My stuff bothers you that much? It does take up space. Once you take it back, my living room feels a lot bigger. Rexy's breathing grew heavier. He turned away to compose himself. When he spoke again, his voice was calm. You heard everything Nora said just now? I nodded. Rexy's gaze burned into me. Do you have anything you want to say? I lowered my head, twisting my fingers, and whispered, yes. Rexy waited eagerly for my answer. The night wind rustled the street, as though urging me to. I gathered my courage, spoke sincerely. I wish you 2 happiness, many children, and a long, blissful marriage. And also, about that 300 square meter riverside condo you promised me, when will you deliver? Rexy's tone was completely flat, giving nothing away. Was that blessing of yours sincere? Yes. I nodded. Rexy's brows knit tighter and tighter. Then why did you still take me in? I polished the reason a little. At a time like that, how could I just leave you out on the streets? He suddenly bent down and grabbed the cardboard box. He yanked it up so hard he staggered backward, almost twisting his ankle. I quickly reached out to steady him. Rexy slapped my hand away, straightened up, and lifted his gaze, cold as ice. Oh? Then I should thank you for your pity. For this little act of kindness, I'll have my secretary send you the contract tomorrow. Under the dim yellow streetlight, his eyes rimmed even redder. He clenched his teeth and forced out a few words. Lena, if I ever come looking for you again, I'm a fucking dog. Rexy strode off on those long legs, 6 feet tall at least, never once looking back. Watching him walk away, I finally let out a long breath. Quietly, I opened my palm, already slick with nervous sweat. The truth was, Rexy had been a reliable patron. Even after he went bankrupt, he still honored the contract. He worked multiple jobs every day and transferred the money to my account on time. Not only that, when employees who were owed back pay came knocking, Rexy carefully wrote down their names, sold off whatever he could, and if nothing else, used the money he earned to pay them back little by little. Even when he was out delivering food until dawn, he'd still remember to bring me a hot breakfast home. Or when we were at our lowest, the two of us scrambling with uncles and aunties at the supermarket for half-priced vegetables, my shoe even came off in the chaos, and in the end, it was Rexy who carried me all the way back. Those days were, ironically, happier than when I was his lover. Because the bankrupt Rexy was far more endearing than the rich Rexy ever was. Now he's returned to his original world, about to marry a woman from his own class. I'm not about to throw away my own interests, let alone trample on basic morals, just for some fleeting, illusory affection, to play the other woman. A clear-headed person knows when to quit while they're ahead. So stopping here is better for both of us. To get ready for the grand mansion, I woke up extra early and did a full face of makeup. The group chat with my girls was already blowing up. Honestly, I always thought you were too timid, kind of spineless, never thought you'd be the most clear-headed one here. Just because someone sticks with you through the bad times doesn't mean they'll stick around for the good ones. I support you. So what's your plan now? I thought for a moment, then replied. Once the house is officially under my name, I'll start looking into renovations. After that, maybe adopt a dog. And then, just live like an ordinary person. Oh right. Mark's cousin was studying art abroad, but his family's finances collapsed out of nowhere, so he had to come back and crash with Mark yesterday. Want me to set you up to chat with him? You're the expert at handling these heartbroken, bankrupt young masters anyway. If you can squeeze a little extra out of Mark through him, we could do a 60-40 split. You get 60, I get 40. The corner of my mouth twitched. I thought it was just a joke, but a few minutes later, WeChat actually pinged with a new friend request. The message was polite. Hello, are you the counselor Sister Shuang recommended? My name is Owen. I sighed and accepted the request. Please don't call me that, I'm not a professional, but if you need someone to talk to, I can be your sounding board. Owen sent a sticker of a cat nodding, perfectly well-behaved and cute. Then he asked, would you be free to meet tonight? What I didn't know was, at that very moment, Rexy had already pulled my WeChat out of his block list. He sat in his massive top-floor office, staring absent-mindedly at our chat window, yet never typing a single word. The secretary handed him a contract. President, everything's ready. Rexy came back to his senses and flipped the contract open, but the pen in his hand hovered, never touching the page. Do you have a girlfriend? The secretary jumped, startled, but still answered respectfully. No, sir. Work keeps me too busy. I do. The secretary thought he misheard. Like, boss, seriously? With all due respect, what does that have to do with me? Literally no one asked if you had a girlfriend. It all started as a transaction between us. At first, I didn't put much effort into the relationship, but little by little, I realized she's actually a really good person. She was the one who stayed by me when I had nothing, all the way up to where I am now. The secretary stared at his own shoes, wishing he could just go deaf on the spot. But, it feels like she never loved me. This house, it's my breakup gift to her. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected Rexy's tightly furrowed brow. He was thinking hard, like he was analyzing a difficult opponent across a negotiation table, replaying every step of where he went wrong in this so-called relationship. Could it be that she only ever loved my money? Oddly enough, the thought didn't make Rexy angry. Instead, what came to mind was the image of Lena cheering with joy, standing inside that brand new house. Rexy had always longed to see that kind of expression on Lena's face, the kind that existed only because of him. But now, here he was, fighting tooth and nail on the front lines for the woman he couldn't stop thinking about. And when he turned around, she was gone, vanished without a trace. His chest felt hollow, his footing unsteady, like he was drifting in water. So empty, so lost, he almost wished he could just drown in it and be done. The secretary cleared his throat. President, if I may, wealth has always been part of your charm. He racked his brain for a way to soften the blow. If Madam likes your money, at least that means she needs me. Rexy cut him off, his dark eyes suddenly lit with sharp clarity. If Lena liked money, then he would give her money. A lot of it. Whatever it took. Face, pride, dignity? He could throw them all out the window. Whatever Lena wanted, he could provide. And he would never, ever let go. With that thought, the heaviness in his chest dissolved. His expression eased, his features brightened. Cancel tonight's dinner. I'll deliver this breakup gift myself. Right, hadn't he drunkenly sworn the other night that if he ever went back to her, he'd be nothing but a dog? Huh, so what? If his wife was about to run away, then being a dog was a small price to pay. Even though I kept turning him down, Owen still showed up downstairs with a so-called surprise. From a distance, I spotted his tall figure standing under the street lamp, cradling something carefully in his arms. As I got closer, I gasped. Wait, why is it a kitten? It was a British short-haired blue tabby, staring at me with wide, round eyes. Owen's lashes cast a faint shadow beneath his eyes. Sorry for disturbing you so late, he said softly. This is a stray I picked up while studying abroad. Her name's Pippi, but since I just came back and things at home are a mess, I really can't manage right now. Could you please take care of her for me? He had those naturally smiling eyes, the kind that made it impossible to say no. As he leaned down slightly, a light scent of tea, mixed with paint, drifted toward me. I heard you're moving into a new place? Pippi's really well behaved. She won't bother you. Pippi let out a soft meow, pressing her warm pink paw pads gently against my wrist. Honestly, who could resist that? Only thing was, if I said yes, my plan to get a dog would have to wait. Cats and dogs can't live together, right? They'll fight. I hesitated. Meow. Pippi kept working her charm. I couldn't resist anymore. I picked her up. By the way, I heard you're planning to study abroad? I actually know a lot about that. I could help you out. I quickly waved my hands. Oh no, I couldn't trouble you with that. Think of it as a thank you. Owen's eyes curved into crescent moons. For being willing to be my sounding board. Suddenly, a shout cut through the night. You bastard. Give me back my trash can. The old man on the first floor, lost in dementia, was furiously waving his cane, yelling toward the shadows under the trees. And in those shadows across from him, it looked like someone was standing there, staring straight in my direction. The night was too dark. I rubbed my eyes, but couldn't see clearly. After Owen left, I hummed a little tune, carrying Pippi upstairs. A tall figure was leaning against my door. Rexy's shirt sleeves were casually rolled up, revealing a solid forearm, still smeared with some suspicious-looking dust. Huh? Didn't he say, if he ever came looking for me again, he'd be a dog? A little confused, but still pleasantly surprised, I jogged a couple steps forward. This is such a small matter. Why'd you come over yourself? Come on in. My fingers had just pressed the code on the lock, when a cold snort sounded behind me. I recall someone once said, she wasn't planning on getting married, that she was going to get a dog. Rexy's voice was icy, his gaze fixed straight on the little ball of fur in my arms. And now? No dog in sight. But you're already raising a cat. I tried to explain. It's my friend's cat, I'm just keeping it for him. But his tone dropped several more degrees. Which friend? A guy or a girl? What's the name? Does he even know you're prone to allergies? Thinking of Mark's hot temper, and worried Xiaoshuang might get dragged into trouble, I hedged. Someone new. You don't know him. But the pair of black eyes behind me seemed to ignite, struggling to suppress some kind of emotion. Cats shed. They're not affectionate. They're sly. How could they ever compare to a dog? And besides, those were your words. You said you'd raise a dog in the new house. How can you just change your mind like that? Wait, what? I was baffled. Why was Rexy suddenly so worked up? And his tone, so wounded, like he was the one waiting to be adopted as my dog. I snapped too. Rexy, Pippi is just a little kitten. How can you make it sound so complicated? What about you? You've been here forever, and you still haven't shown me the contract. Fine, drag your feet all you want, but don't just pick fights with me non-stop. What's your deal? Are you backing out? Do you not want to give me the house anymore? The two of us glared at each other, locked in a standoff. I hoisted the tiny furball in my arms. You, apologize to Pippi. Rexy just sat there on the couch with his arms crossed, his eyes sweeping over the cat, heavy and dark. He gave a cold snort and turned his face away. It's the cat that should be apologizing to the dog, stealing someone else's place. Still trying to twist the logic. Looking at that ugly capitalist face, I got even angrier. Not gonna apologize? Fine, then hand me the contract. The man before me suddenly stretched out his long arm. In an instant, he hooked me by the waist, pulling me right into the space between his legs. Pippi yelped a startled meow, and leapt out of my arms. Completely unprepared, I landed on Rexy's solid thigh. I tried to wriggle free, but his grip only tightened. Rexy slid the folder into my arms. At that moment, I didn't care about whatever compromising position we were in. All I could do was fumble with the seal, tearing it open in a rush. I read every word, line by line, the corners of my lips lifting uncontrollably. Then my eyes caught on the very last line. In bold black and white, it read, "The transfer of funds and property is an unconditional and irrevocable gift from me, Rexy, to Miss Lena. Once signed, this agreement is deemed complete." And right beneath it, Rexy's signature. Those shining words, irrevocable, felt like a solid anchor settling deep in my chest. I drew in a shaky breath, unable to smother the excitement bursting inside me. Finally, it's mine. I wanted to scream, to run circles around the living room like a monkey, but instead, I forced myself to calm down. I picked up my phone, pretending to snap a pic for memory's sake, when in fact, I secretly dropped it into the girls' group chat, asking them to have a lawyer check for loopholes. Rexy, of course, saw through every bit of it. He slid one arm around my waist, lowering me firmly onto the sofa. Feeling a little guilty, I muttered under my breath. Who knows what tricks you capitalists keep up your sleeve? What if you're plotting against me? A glimmer of laughter sparkled in Rexy's dark eyes. Then, right there in the middle of the living room rug, he dropped down on one knee, looking up at me. Of course I am. My wrist was suddenly caught midair, and in the next heartbeat, a pigeon egg-sized ruby ring slipped smoothly onto my finger, gleaming alive. Marry me, Lena. I froze, my mind nearly blank. Lowering my head, I looked at the ring, its size a perfect fit for my finger. The images in front of me flickered back, frame by frame, to a long time ago. Back then, Rexy and I were curled up at home, watching a movie. The finale was the big proposal scene. The heroine stood surrounded by friends and family, clutching flowers, everyone weeping with joy. But I felt nothing at all. I stuffed a handful of chips into my mouth, crunching away. Rexy cast me a sideways glance, faintly surprised. You don't like this ending? I shook my head. Too noisy. I don't have that many friends, and there won't be any family at my proposal ceremony either. If it were me, I just wanted in a warm little home, full makeup done, looking beautiful, and receiving a big diamond ring. And now, every detail I had once offhandedly described was coming true. I'd never expected anything from marriage. Yet in this moment, my chest still warmed. Rexy, this joke isn't funny at all. The creases in his tailored slacks showed where he had knelt. Normally so meticulous about cleanliness, he didn't notice them at all. Instead, his gaze was steady, his tone intent. Lena, this isn't a joke. I wanted to give you this ring the very day you moved. But back then, I was foolish, so stubborn about hearing the answer I wanted from your lips. Now, I've realized that answer doesn't matter. What matters is that I speak my heart, so you know how much I love you. His raw honesty moved me, and I too wanted to lay my feelings bare. I let out a soft sigh. Rexy, I like you too. But forgive me, I'm a coward. Your world is dazzling, full of temptations. I worry your love might be nothing more than a fleeting whim. I worry a marriage with such a gap between us could never last. My own family was never happy. It was downright ugly. And if one day we ended up the same way, then I'd rather not even begin. I had never told anyone about my childhood home. Back in middle school, my parents divorced. That house was filled with infidelity, alcohol, lies, and violence. My last memory there was of them fighting over custody of my brother. He was the bright one, good grades, good looks, destined for success. And me? I tried, but my grades were barely above average. My personality was dull, my looks could only be called cute. The day they left, I clung to the car door, sobbing, begging them not to abandon me. But they did. I was dropped off at my aunt's house, just a guest under her roof. She disliked me. She only gave me half of a storage room to live in, the other half crammed with junk and discarded goods. In the summer, that place swarmed with biting insects. When it rained, the air filled with the stench of mildew. Living under someone else's roof taught me early to read faces, to do extra chores, just to earn the right to stay. I even kept a careful record of every penny I owed her, planning to repay it all one day. Back then, I only wished to grow up faster, to pay off the debt, and buy a home of my own, even if it was just a single bedroom. When I went to college, my mom suddenly reached out. She fussed over me, even told me my father had long since passed away. She took me back into her home. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was finally going to be loved. But in that house, there was a room for her and my stepfather, and a room for my brother. The only one without a room was me. I slept in the living room every night. I remember it clearly. The toilet seat in the bathroom always stained with urine. The living room always strung with men's underwear my mom had washed by hand. I never fit in there, but I endured it, clinging to the tiniest shred of affection I had never known. It didn't last long. I soon learned my mom had only brought me back because my brother was sick, he might need a kidney transplant. I refused her request. She yanked my hair, sobbing, calling me heartless. Then she took every last cent I had and threw me out. So that was the price of a mother's love. 1 kidney, and 2,487 yuan. What a luxury. That stormy night, my head bleeding, I collapsed in front of a black car. And in that moment, when I needed a hand to pull me out of the mud, Rexy appeared. My wounds healed. My tuition was covered. I had my own bedroom, a closet, a study, even a small home I could call my own. Rexy and his money had held up my crumbling life. So when he stood alone outside the gates of his family estate, like a stray dog left out in the cold, even though I pretended to be indifferent, I couldn't stop my heart from softening. This time, I thought, it's my turn to catch him as he falls. Rexy noticed my mind drifting. Instead of pressing me for an answer, the crease between his brows slowly eased. I get it. You're afraid of repeating your parents' mistakes. No rush. We'll take it slow. I've got all the time in the world. I'll prove to you that this isn't just a whim, and that we'll never end up like them. I tried to slip the ring off my finger, but he slid it right back on. In the dimly lit living room, everything else blurred into the background, except for his dazzling eyes, so full of sincerity. I just sat there, dazed.